Hey guys, Garrett back for Sableye the Mind Sculptor with another card evaluation video. Today we are going to be looking at the card Imminent Doom. Imminent Doom is an enchantment for 2 and a red that enters the battlefield with a Doom counter on it. And then, whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of Doom counters on Imminent Doom deals that much damage to target creature or player. Then you put another Doom counter on it. So you see how this card can spiral out of control quickly as long as you keep hitting every spot in your curve. The issue with Imminent Doom is that it forces you to play 1-drops after turn 3, which of course is a pretty weak turn 4 play. However, there are some cards that don't get weaker with time. Oath of Nissa is a very good example of a card like this because it's card filtering. That's always useful. Removal is also very useful. So for the standard 2-drops, I thought Cut to Ribbons and Anticipate were pretty good examples of cards that are still useful after turn 3. Cut kills a creature, and Ribbons actually is great because it has an X cost, which means you can play it for a variety of converted mana costs so that you can hit your Imminent Doom on the harder to get mana costs like 4 or 5. Anticipate is card filtering, so it's pretty much good whenever. Sweltering Suns isn't even good on turn 3, which is where you would think it would be played because of the curve. It would rather have more creatures out on the battlefield, in fact. And it gets better with Imminent Doom because Imminent Doom can polish off the damage that Sweltering Suns does. For instance, if there is a 5 toughness creature, the Sweltering Suns will do 3, and you can have the Imminent Doom do another 3 to make sure that that creature goes away. Collective Defiance is another card that I thought was good, even after its spot in the mana curve, especially because I hardly ever play this on turn 3. I play it on turn 4 with 2 modes usually. And then Liliana the Last Hope was another card I thought was good whenever, especially because with her 1+, you can actually polish off Imminent Doom damage if the Imminent Doom can't quite get there. Kalitas Trader of Get was my favorite 4-drop because it just is a good card and it benefits from having the ability to shoot down creatures with Imminent Doom. And then Confirmed Suspicions was my favorite 5-drop. I just wanted to point out this card to everybody because it's not very well known, and I love it in control decks because getting those 3 clues is actually a very huge swing in card advantage. Then the 2 really good X spells in Standard are Torment of Hailfire, and this one's kind of edgy, but Burn from Within. Torment of Hailfire does a whole lot of work, especially if you can put in like 5 mana, because at that point you're going to be hitting them for so much. And with Imminent Doom to deal an additional 5 damage, you can really, really limit their options. And then Burn from Within is actually a pretty workable removal spell as long as you're willing to deal with the sorcery speed. But this deck really, I thought, was much better in Modern when I was putting it together. So our full deck list is going to be for a Modern deck. And I will warn you, this deck is very janky, so don't expect this to be the strongest Modern deck I've ever made. We're starting off with our 1-drops. Thought Scour is the best cantrip in this deck, you'll see why later. Then Lightning Bolt and Fatal Push, of course, are the best removal spells in this slot. Noxious Revival we're running 1 of. There are reasons, so don't hate me yet. And then Inquisition of Kozilek is the hand attack that I preferred over Thoughtseize. There are advantages to both, but right now with Grixis Death Shadow being such a good deck, I like Inquisition a little bit more. At 2, we've got Snappy. Snappy's especially great in this deck because he can snap back a 3-drop, which lets you get 2 Imminent Doom triggers, which is great, or a 1-drop if you don't have one in hand. And then Remand is just a really good counterspell for these decks that need to be delaying your opponent. And Pyroclasm is cool because it just deals 2 damage to each creature. With Imminent Doom, though, that means you get to deal an additional 2 damage to whatever their 1 creature is that would live through that. Imminent Doom, of course, is at the 3-drop slot, along with Kolaghan's Command, which is just an amazing card, and 2 Lilianas, Liliana the Last Hope and Liliana of the Veil. We're running a single Liliana the Last Hope and 2 Liliana of the Veil because I think Liliana of the Veil is like a little better against all of the decks in the format, but I think Liliana the Last Hope still has a place in this deck. And then we get to 4-drops, and I get to justify Noxious Revival from earlier. Gifts Ungiven is our first 4-drop. Told you this deck was going to get janky. This is just value gifts in the main board. This is actually not an abuse of gifts. Then we've got Mystical Teachings. Because Mystical Teachings is good with Gifts Ungiven, you can basically force them to give you whatever 2 cards you want this way. And Logic Knot. Logic Knot is an amazing card with Imminent Doom because you can make it any converted mana cost you want. And as long as you keep putting cards in your graveyard, this is basically an original counterspell as long as things are working out your way. Single Murderous Cut because we didn't have quite enough Delve Abuse, and I needed a 5-drop other than Logic Knot X3. And then Tassiger the Golden Fang. Best card in the deck, probably. Comes down very early if you get a Thought Scour, and if you don't, he comes down kind of late, but he's just an all-around good card. Draws you cards, fills the graveyard, very strong for what he does. Moving on to the sideboard, we've got Thoughtseize, Mana Leak, and Terminate, because I didn't think the deck had enough interaction in the main board for certain types of opposing decks. Anger of the Gods and Rest in Peace to beat Dredge. A couple more Gifts Ungiven, because our last two cards are a single Unburial Rites and Elish Norngran Cenobite, so that once your opponents have not sideboarded into the anti-gifts plan, you can get them game 2 with the gifts. This is something I like to do in gifts decks, is just have value gifts game 1, so they don't bring in their strong graveyard hate like Rip. This way you can beat them game 2 with the Elish Norn plan, without having to be worried about it getting surgically extracted when you try to go for it. Anyway, that's been the deck. I hope you like it. Until next time, peace out.